But it's old and weathered and dusty. No, it's the video game years. Give it up for the video game years. Is that why you're here? Is this the right panel room? You want to introduce who you are? Going stage right to left, straight stage left? I don't know. Eric?
I don't know. Eric Lappy. Let's Get.
Turn it on.
Oh, I turned it on. Okay. Eric Lappy from Let's Get.
Hey guys. I'm Pixel Man.
iPad Country.
I don't know where Lance is. He'd be sitting here.
He's Lance.
Yeah. He's running the expo, so he's busy running around. I'm John D'Elia from Retroware TV. And this show. Pretty much this show. That's pretty much it. This show now.
Well, John is the co-director, co-creator. No, he actually is the creator. I named the show, but John's the creator of the concept.
That's right. VH1 came up with this show. I came up with the idea to steal the show.
Yes.
And turn it into a video game-centric show.
Yours is way better.
Oh, thank you.
I told John, get off your butt and do the show, which kind of prompted him to do it.
Yeah, it was an idea that I came up with probably 2 years before it started. And
Was it 2 years or a year?
I don't know. It was a year or two. I mentioned it to
When did we
Lance at
start
one
shooting?
point.
Into 2011 we started shooting?
We started shooting at the end of 2011. We started asking everybody.
Because we showed footage at MACFest 2012?
Yeah, we showed one segment of it, I believe.
Of
Or did we
77?
show the whole thing? We might have showed the whole thing.
2011?
We shot in fall
We shot the
2011.
full 40-minute. We showed
Of 77 in
77.
late 2011?
Yeah.
So wow, it's been 6 years since we shot it?
Yeah.
Wow, we're old.
How many of you guys are familiar with the show from YouTube versus Amazon? YouTube. Okay, that's good.
So most from YouTube, Amazon Prime found it. So you got 5 people found it on Amazon Prime.
There we go.
Please watch it on Amazon Prime. It helps us so much.
Oh yeah?
The guy who runs Amazon Prime's your uncle?
No.
That's what it sounded like. Wow, I want to know who your uncle is.
Can I have his name?
One of the people running the expo, Chris, is my uncle.
Oh, Chris is great.
So that's how I found it out.
Cool.
Chris is great.
Yeah, it's one of those shows that unfortunately learned. There was a time where you thought YouTube was for TV quality, high production videos, but then.
Yeah, we got a heckler.
You got a heckler right in the front row. But
Amazing.
Case in point though, you quickly learned now with the rise of top 10s and let's plays and prank videos, clickbait that.
He knows what he's talking about.
He knows what I'm talking about. He's the YouTube.
Have you started a YouTube channel?
He's the
yet?
reason why video game years failed. This is the individual right here.
You might be better than all of us at it.
One
But-
popular video is me throwing a trash bag out a window.
Yeah, and then probably get more
That
views. than
sounds
video game
about
years.
right. That sounds about
But
right.
that's the point though, is that
Typing games.
before this runs off the rails entirely in the first 5 minutes, I'll try to keep this in line. So what I'm trying to say, heckler, is that we learned that unfortunately, people enjoyed the show, people like being on the show, people enjoyed working on the show maybe, is that it's way too much time involved, way too much money involved to do a show like that on YouTube, because it wouldn't have made the views back, the money put into it, if each video got 1 million views, it wouldn't have made the time and money back. It just wouldn't. It's just not, that's not what YouTube is, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely not the time. I mean, my God. We originally thought that the show would cost about $1,000 an episode. But when you think about a 60-minute high-definition show with all that editing, that's ridiculous. But
And you come from a TV background, and you somehow costed that out.
we were the theory was we're going to have people work on the show and we're not going to pay them anything, and that worked for a little while. In the beginning, it was me, and that was the '70s episodes, which is why they're long and meandering and not great.
Listen to the commentary tracks. I just go off on John during the 18-minute long Space Invader segment.
Why is the Space Invaders 17 minutes long? Well, there were also fewer topics in those years that made sense to talk about, so
Sure.
they had these super long pieces. And I mean, we actually scripted out, not scripted, but we had the main points to hit in each topic. We had like 4 bullet points per topic.
Sure.
We asked everybody to do that. As we moved forward, we said, here's the topic, just talk.
Yeah, we want to be more natural after like 78, I want to say, or 70. We're like, okay, we can't do it. Let's have people that know what they're talking about talk about it. And then if you don't know what you're talking about, be goofy, and maybe that'll fit in too. Right, Dan? Dan and Eric.
Wait. Why did I get singled out?
I want you guys to speak.
What?
That's why.
Okay.
What did you enjoy? I'm on right now. So what brought you into the video game years and why you wanted to be involved with it?
John and Lance were like, "You work for Retroware, we own you. Here's a list of topics, say things about it." I think that's how it went down, right?
Generally how it worked. Please do this for us. Please put yourself on the screen.
Ditto. Eric did the same thing. No, I always thought it was a really fun idea from the beginning, and since I'm the guy who I'm the toy guy. Let's be honest. I'm the toy guy in this group. I'm a weird fit with this whole group, but I'm here. And I always thought it was really cool that I even got asked to be a part of it, and I was happy to do it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
But then you go on to do the arcade segment, which is even...
But it used to be the toy segment, which I'm still thinking was the best part of the show. The other toys of
The toys of 1979.
and then Pat was like, "You're out of here, bro. We're done with your segments."
I didn't say it like that. I felt like this is a video game show. Why do we care about Micronauts for? And John's like, "We want to own all the verticals." I'm like, let's own the games first.
I was like, well, we wanted to have a hand in every area, you know. So it's like, let's do the toy stuff.
John's thinking like this is like on TV.
We wanted to do like I thought of doing Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah.
John comes from a TV background though, which I don't know if people here don't realize. John, what's your background? Just real quick.
Yeah, well, Lance and I both we met and became friends when we both worked at A&E and the History Channel with our friend Kevin over here, who I haven't seen in like 8 years. He showed up at this panel. We started at A&E and the History Channel, and before that, Lance he did communications and film and television production in college, and I was a film major in college. So we did the business of television for a while. So we saw how it was done, and we thought we could maybe replicate it with this show.
Well, sort of replicated, not the success, but it was replicated.
No,
but you pitched video game years to History.
Yeah, I did. We put together this was probably 4 years ago now. We put together a full package.
Sizzle reel.
We did a sizzle reel, which was like about 7 minutes long, and which is kind of normal for a sizzle reel if you want to show a lot of pieces of a show. We used that actually to cut down for our new Amazon Prime trailer, which we put out. I don't know if you guys have seen it. We can actually show it, but that was.
But then they watched it, and they're like, "Oh, that sounds interesting." You never heard from them again.
No. They were hard. I mean, the only bite that we had was with Discovery had Destination America, but before it was called Destination America, and it's probably something else now. There was a Discovery digital network that had some interest in it for a short period of time, and then there was none. But thank God for streaming services like we have now they're taking in content like this. They're finding audiences. I mean, honestly, we have a whole new audience for this show, and we finished it 2 years ago. So.
More than 2.
Yeah.
I'd say 2.5. And then remember The Escapist had some interest. Remember The Escapist website? They still around? No, they ended a couple years ago.
They still do zero punctuation.
Yeah, zero punctuation is still around.
They let everyone else go.
So it was pitched to them too, and what was the expression? This is what the people who come to our website, this is what their older brother would be interested in.
Yeah.
That's what they told us. And I'm like, what is that? And I said, you don't think people at that point, early 30s or 20s, you don't think they're interested in the history of Pac-Man or Nintendo or no, nothing. They didn't want it.
Yeah, and they wanted the pieces. You know, when we first started on YouTube, it was less than 10 minutes and it was 240p, and and the audience was okay. We need to do short pieces. The video game years didn't fit naturally. People are more used to watching long form nowadays on YouTube or in other outlets, but we talked to Escapists, and they're like, yeah, we could use a few segments, so one segment here, one segment there. So we would do these cut downs to like one segment, kind of like how Pat puts them out on the channel now, on his channel. But, they would throw it on the front page, and it would be like, Space Invaders, 1977. It would have like 8 views, and it would be sitting on the front page, and it was like, yeah, I'm done uploading to Escapists.
I don't remember that being uploaded.
I uploaded a few, and it was...
What sort of revenue was that, John? Like 30
There was like 0 revenue, and there was like 18 views. So I stopped uploading to Escapist.
Yeah, it was rough, but it was fun to work on, right?
It's funny.
Eric, let's get Eric in the conversation. Eric and Dan probably filmed the most segments aside from Ian and I. So it was like these are the anchor of the show. Everyone up here and Ian were the most segments probably filmed out of everyone. So why did you enjoy working on the show, Eric? You put a lot into it.
I was asked to.
That's why?
It's like, you'll have me, I'll do it.
Tell the story of the television suit.
Hey?
Oh yeah.
This is nuts. This is Eric's dedication. I'll never forget this.
I don't remember.
You don't remember this? I remember this.
So I wore my dad's suit.
No. So there's okay. The Mr. and Television commercials. That's going to be in the years 82 or 83.
He's literally on this video with it. I'm gonna put a still frame of you.
There's commercials that they use for television. Mr. Plimpton talking to this nerdy little kid in classes, right?
Yeah.
And then is Mr. and Television always saying like, "Oh, there's a kid." You just have the kid there.
Oh yeah.
There's E when he looks like an ET. But there's jokes where the kid's like, I didn't know about how television games are better than Atari. So it's literally a throwaway joke. Show the joke. Is it near the end?
Yeah, I'm finding him.
Show him the joke. Might as well play it in real time here. Let's see.
At this
Baseball.
point, Jesus Christ.
Is there volume on there?
Still.
There you go.
Television versus Atari. Oh, Atari was better.
Rest in peace, Keith Robinson.
They're still fighting about this. Atari did win the console war eventually, though, but that's because they had just some really blockbuster hits with Pac-Man, Space Invaders, and things like that. But Intellivision did give them quite a run for its money.
It's kind of ironic that the Intellivision commercials featured E.T.'s Henry Thomas, and the infamous E.T. game was released on the Atari 2600, not the Intellivision, and that the E.T. game led to the demise of the Atari 2600. It's out of this world.
That wasn't it. All right, there's the point. There's a 2-second throwaway joke
That's what the problem is.
with Eric wearing the suit and glasses. But you said you forgot to get that. You drove an hour or hour and a half home just to get the suit to come back for that 1-second joke.
Yep. And nobody probably got it. It was worth it.
But it shows the appreciation. Give it up
That's
for
right.
Eric driving 3 hours for a 2-second joke. You're insane. That's why I love Eric.
No, you totally got it. Yeah, Eric deserves all the props because listening to you talking about like the amount of process you would go through to film your stuff, like you scripted everything, right? You went through and scripted all your stuff. You researched it. Like you put probably way more work into this.
Which
than
I
most people.
Which I went after him for when I found that out.
More work than John,
I
for
said,
sure.
Eric, what are you doing? You're so funny off the cuff. You don't need to script out this stuff. And then I think eventually you loosened up on it. You were like, I think
Something like that.
something like that.
So I would just script it, but then when I messed up, I was like, okay, that's good. It seems natural.
There's
Left it in.
one of our DVDs. One of our bonus features is just Eric's outtakes because it's unbelievable. Like he would screw up a little something that he planned on doing, and it would just become funnier. And usually he was having a beer while doing it, which made it that much.
Yeah,
fun.
look at that.
I know
Some
you.
of that
I know
stuff
you
is
look
like,
back on it like,
yeah.
don't show the beer stuff as much.
Yeah, I remember. I just know all the emails I got, and that's how Pat found out. It was like he's just spending way too much time on preparing, which I gotta say thank you for because I mean, you know, it's I'm very happy you put that work in. But like John and I kind of just do everything kind of off the cuff, like, and he just like scripts everything, and he's very dedicated. So you know,
You guys know more stuff than me, is what it is. I learned a lot just like researching this. So I like, I got to look into this game. So
That was one of the worst parts about doing the show initially, especially in the 70s episodes, is that as we were making them, I would get more and more interested in the old consoles. And for a while, I was essentially looking or buying every friggin' topic that we talked about. So like, I was like, where's the Bally Astrocade? I gotta get one. And then I bought like 14 Pong clones, and this was
I always thought about we should redo the 70s and actually do it with the better production value, but actually start with the Man of Oz Odyssey in like 72.
yeah, go back real
And
far.
just really do year by year, do a year with Pong, and just go. We'd be forced to do all the Pong clones every year. Like it'd be
This is
4
the
Pong
Odyssey
clones a year.
3000. This is the Odyssey 4000.
Yeah, it's some of the more esoteric arcade games we can go into, like with the shooting one. What the hell was the shooting one?
Oh, wait, the one that
Where you're in the cactus.
cowboy or something? There was a cowboy.
I don't know. That's like 1975, 76. We could have done Death Race
Death Race. Yeah.
in like, what was that, 78 or something?
Joe Lieberman of the late 70s got very upset about Death Race.
Did Joe Lieberman in the 70s did, or someone else?
No, there was like some initial controversy about Death Race for some reason.
Because you ran over a little pixel person?
Yeah, you're running over.
We're doing the
pixels.
video game years, Death Race.
Death Race, and Death is in it.
Exidy, great. What was I saying? No, I don't know. Yeah, the 70s were rough. But one of the things I remember Derek Alexander, who was on RetroAir, Happy Video Game Nerd, saying, why don't you guys start with like 85, 86? And
Nope.
the argument for me was, we don't know what the hell we're doing.
Yeah.
So if we start with them, we're not going to do it justice, and this will be a laughing stock.
No,
So-
it ultimately worked out because we could just kind of be garbage through the late 70s.
To the early 80s.
Actually, 79 was okay. 80 was all right, but we started getting other people doing it. I mean, 77 and 78, I did all myself, which was compiling, taking in all the raw material, because everybody shot their own stuff. And we take it all
Which was
in.
a problem too.
Yeah,
So we had
because-
to color correct, or I didn't know how to color correct for
Yeah,
like
'cause-
3 years.
Because he and Ian shot with a Game Boy camera.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Game Boy camera. You guys it used tapes still. Remember, this is 2011. It was HD, but it used the tapes still.
Yeah,
You guys were like purple. You were like purple. Like in
Well,
the
John
first
could have white balanced it, color corrected it too. You
I
didn't do it.
We need better editors.
I did do it. The first year I did color correction on it. There was no way I could color correct what you sent, unfortunately.
What? Oh man. But
And then I stopped doing color correction after that. I'm just like, okay.
yeah, we look like we were shot in the '60s, being eaten on those early episodes.
Oh, yeah.
The Atari console.
This was shot with like, you know.
I'm pretty color corrected there.
This one's better. This was like 82.
I learned by like 81 how to do it.
Look
80.
how young you are.
Joey used to yell at me. Rue used to yell at me. I look young. Kinda.
Well, you got the military.
I can pass for 33.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
This is showing the how the whole
like how it
process
all works.
Here is a television baseball with 9 players. Here's a Atari.
So like this is all.
It's pretty brutal.
Pat and Ian did a great job because when everybody would upload their materials to a shared drive, and they would have a folder, and it would be like, okay, this is the Intellivision topic, this is the Miss Pac-Man topic, etc.
Cut the audio. I can't get distracted.
That's basically what he was saying. But hey, it must have
Ian
worked.
rocking that hoodie.
Yeah,
Cracks me up.
but Pat and Ian did a great job because they would always give us what the title of it was before, so that the editors that did the assembly cuts would be able to grab the footage down, know exactly what to do, and then start building, essentially this pre-edit.
So 81 was.
But what you'll notice in the pre-edits is that everybody's
campaign.
look and feel.
It's the Atari television war.
You're brown and black, I'm brown and gold. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, that was before the beep. Notice that we add beeps at some point. So, everybody has different color correction. Everybody has different composition. Everybody's got different greens. So we needed better editors than me to do this in order to get to something like, this. I know, turn
So
it.
81 was really the first year.
Now look, see, they have color in their skin.
Between Atari and Intellivision.
Well, they were going after each other. They were just,
So like this was done by Cameron Bezdeport. Remember we had this guy Cameron edit for a little while? Yeah, look at me. Look at what he adds to this.
He's coming back. Go fuck yourself.
Now 81 was a breakout year.
I didn't have to beep in that
Basically, they
one.
were selling a bazillion copies, and Intellivision was trying to get their foot.
So yeah, we don't have to go through this whole thing. But you'll notice that it took a little effort. We needed better guys.
Well, I mean, just think of the first year. It's topics that we'll never do again. Like Star Wars was one.
We did
We're never
Star-
going to touch movies.
I almost
Chuck E.
wanna-
Cheese, maybe we would.
I would
Maybe
almost
not
want
for 11 minutes.
No, I'd seriously want to, if we do the 70s and just do like, we can do 70 through 75 and do like 76, 77, 78, 79.
So what do you guys think? 70 to 75 before the 90s, or?
But there's something there, I think, because there's not a lot for 70 to 75, but there's some, we can find some
20-minute
arcade
episodes.
stuff. But then I think we should, if we ever got to that point, redo the 70s and do justice to them, or better.
That's true. We could improve it for
We
sure.
should get rid of the Star Wars segment.
If I don't get to yell Star Wars again, I'm out.
Star Wars.
That's
You don't have Billy J to slander George Lucas in our.
Oh yeah, that's right.
video game.
Yeah, Joey just crapped on him in the middle of it. Deserved it. Oh, question.
Yeah. If you do make an episode, 2 things I don't recommend.
Okay.
One,
Wait, hold on, pro YouTuber here. This is
Let
important.
me get my pen and paper. Hold on.
Going by our views, we need some advice. Okay, it's fine.
so 1, don't do any. No matter what you do, don't do anything that relates to Star Trek in any way.
Whoa. Why? Explain yourself.
You'll offend so many people. The video will get taken down.
Oh, you'll offend
You'll offend people with
So
Star
no
Trek?
phaser strike
Star
on the
Trek-
Microvision.
Star Trek
We
fans.
did, yeah.
If you It's
the only
like
time
we
you ever
didn't
mention
even
it.
touch it. And there was so many people got offended.
Those Trekkies.
They're sensitive.
I'm a
And second, don't cover any games that have to do with anime. In any way.
Okay.
No
You
Dragon Ball.
you want to come on as producer of the show? You want to just like...
Luckily, we.
No, for real, you can sit down.
No, see.
This is like worse than I when I was a kid. You think I would be like this?
I need to know why. Why no anime games?
For the exact same reason as before.
Oh, anime fans?
Let me give you... But here's the thing. You shouldn't care what people say on YouTube.
But
What?
I
But-
don't care about the comments, but what if so many people get angry and flag the video gets taken down and all that work and money you put into it?
This is why I hate YouTube.
So you get a baseball bat, you write down the ISP, you find out who they are.
Oh my god. Don't take his advice. That's a bad idea.
Well, does anybody have any questions? We might as well open it up. This was Q&A, and we got about half time left. Oh, right here.
Is there a panel after us?
Is there a future video game year still?
See, I knew it was the first question.
First question.
We should have opened with that.
Well, I've been joking that I think that we should have our live conversation about the future of the show in front of that audience.
Is John, are you still rooming with me tonight?
Yes.
So when John gets drunk later, it's going to devolve into a shouting match between us. But
It might, yeah.
this will help in a second. It's not dead. There's a possibility, but we have to talk about timing, we talk about funding, we talk about... Here's the thing. We first did the show 5 years ago to 4 to 3. I can't speak for John and Lance. I was a hell of a lot less busy than I was now.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube was like a hobby, but I had more time to work on stuff versus now where I'm split between like several projects. Mostly everyone worked on the show for free. That cannot happen again.
That was too much time. I mean, between you and I, I mean, I did the final assembly at the end, but just the producing aspect of it, the reviewing everything, giving notes back to the editors, getting revisions done, reviewing those.
I was the guy responsible for approving the assembly edits of everything. So like the order of the clips before all the After Effects, and I was the one for the actual content. I was responsible for that. So if they missed out something, or I thought this joke is awful, you missed out on this, I had to go back to all the editors. So the show ballooned up. Called scope creep? Is that what the term is for games?
It's scope creep.
Scope creep.
Boil the ocean.
It was like 20 to 24 topics, then it went to 30, and then 89 was like 37 or something.
89 is full on stupid. Like it's an hour and 30 minutes. We have a full length like.
Is it 90 minutes?
It's about 90 minutes. It's a full length.
But we don't do
documentary
justice to the
for
games.
1989 American video game releases.
See, here's the problem. I should have told Rue and Ian to shut up about games. Because by 89, they're like, because it was the three of us that would decide by committee what games to look at. So I got to give Ian, you got to talk about Goonies too. Why? Like, why? Why should we talk about, like, there's so many games that we should have cut out that I, for some reason, like, okay, yeah, we'll do that. But they weren't doing the work. They were just shooting. I was doing the work, then John was doing the work. So
why aren't we talking about aliens?
I'm just
on the TurboGrafx?
Yeah.
You don't understand how important.
I'm just airing it all out. We had editors trying to get not crappy games, but games that had no.
What was the one that we got in a fight with Joe Redifer over on
Gangster Town?
Gangster Town on the Sega
He was
Master
mad when he
System.
talked about freaking Gangster Town.
And yeah, I mean,
4 people own Gangster Town on the Master System. So that's this kind of, but then you have people always in your ear saying, well, you cannot leave this game out. You can't leave this game out. But it's like, that's easy for you because you're not actually working on the show after you shoot it. So like, your work's done. You shoot for an hour, you're done.
Yeah.
Me and John have to deal with the fallout. We have to find the editors to work on. This is going to be a whining session for me. It's like therapy.
It's cathartic.
That's therapy. Here's the point. If it comes back, it'd be like 20 to 24 topics. It'd be like, this is the games you actually remember that mattered in the grand scheme of things for 1990, for 91, 92, and it can't increase after that.
Yeah, so if we do
because we
didn't
do justice to those games. We talked about Wizards and Warriors for like 52 seconds. It's like, why even talk about it then? Like, get rid of it.
So
would Kickstarter help at all?
Yeah, if we do this,
It would have to be Kickstarter.
it would have to be
crowdfunding.
Kickstarter,
It have
and we would not be budgeting $1,000 an episode. So when we did our first Indiegogo, we was like, all right, it's going to be for the 80s, and our goal was 10 grand.
To finish the 80s, right?
Yeah,
we
and
were
we got-
stuck in 82. We didn't finish 82 at that point, I think.
Yeah, it
Something
was to
like that.
finish the 80s, and it was successful. We made about 13 grand. Each episode, I guarantee you, was more than $1,200. I
And
mean,
that's before fees. That's before
that was before, yeah.
stickers that you sent out and buttons.
Yeah, like the promotional stuff, and that's
Yeah.
and that did not include any of our time. We did pay editors a stipend. Everybody was on the show, was volunteering their footage. The producers, we got paid nothing, and the advertising rates that we got off of YouTube were effectively zilch. So it wasn't until what has happened lately with Amazon Prime and the new viewers and the new success from it is that we've been actively thinking about what we're going to do in the future.
Because there's now long form. Amazon, Hulu's looking for it, Netflix. So now it makes sense again with Amazon's Amazon Video Direct. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Amazon Video Direct is their independent, almost YouTube-like in a way of submitting content to their platform and getting it on Amazon Prime. So as long as your content follows their guidelines and gets passed through their review.
Rigorous.
Oh God.
Horrible interface review.
Yeah. I still spent 100 hours getting it ready for Amazon.
It was worth it though. You learned a lesson.
It was totally worth it.
I told John, don't put hashtags and
logos.
buttons in your video.
Yeah.
And Amazon came back and said, we hate your little hashtags. and
Yeah, they hate.
bugs."
They don't. If you want to put something on Amazon Prime, they do not like persistent logos or watermarks or anything like that. So it would seem easy to go back and take those down, but I have 5 years of old project sequence files and hard drives that have changed. So now I'm relinking media, and some reason I don't have the original footage without the logo. So now I'm trying to redo splicing little sections of raw material.
Wasn't there like a complete episode you basically had to redo?
Oh yeah, I mean,
You redid an episode? Which one?
well, no, not completely, but honestly, the audio I had to resync by eye on some stuff. Amazingly, it worked.
For which year? Like with the early
Like all the
70s?
years, there were parts where I had to do something. Once I got into the late '80s again, I had such a good way of compiling and it was very organized. It was much easier. But 80, 81, 82, 83, it was kind of all over the place the way I was organized. So
Good job, John.
it was good fun.
But it was,
Yeah,
but it's worth it.
yeah, it ended up being worth it.
As long as no one sues us.
Any other questions? Oh.
So did you guys have a lot of kind of like Joe from GameSec? Wasn't he also an editor on the?
Yep. Yes,
So
he did.
Did that affect like what content was on there too? Was he able to influence like what?
There were lots of. There were
There was
definitely
some back and
there was
forth.
some
Just
back
say
and
that.
forth. There was always some good.
Opinionated guy.
Producing a show can sometimes be. It's like project management in a way. If you guys work in project management, you're dealing with personalities, and sometimes you're trying to get people to agree. So.
When you have a show with like there's like 10 regular contributors, 5 to 12 guests overall. We had how many editors overall? 15 editors.
At its height, at one given time, we had 12.
There's way too many editors.
But we had multiple. I mean, we had more than 12 editors.
Overall, but not on one episode. Yeah, we had people do the assembly cuts, and we had people. You okay? And then we had people do the green screen and clean it up, and it still wasn't consistent. At some point, some editors were clearly better than others. So if it came back, we'd have like probably 2 editors at most.
Yeah.
Or really 1. We'd probably have 1 or 2 that would probably work on the show. And they could talk to each other and then sync up. But no, the editors didn't have say in terms of you're going to talk about this or talk about that. They absolutely had none. The only times I would get grief from the editors when most of the time they were cool. I was like, okay, you left out a fact about the TurboGrafx 16, for example. If you're doing a segment about the TurboGrafx 16, you should know, hopefully, that it was big on shooters. So if it's not in there, I got to tell you got to put in at least someone saying something about shooters, then it gets put back in. So for the most part, it was just little stuff like that, or cut out this joke goes too long, I don't like this joke, this is too jokey,
Yeah, or we tackled that.
There's too
topic
much Eric
already.
in there. You guys got to talk. I feel like I'm dominating this.
I mean, we don't know how to answer these editing questions. It's all good.
You could just lie and make stuff up.
Oh, okay.
Well, to be honest, I mean, the editors, I mean, they weren't just, edit monkeys. I mean, these guys had, the assembly editors had the very first pass at the actual pacing and story and the way that the segment worked. We gave them guidelines like, this is a 1 minute segment.
This is 3 minutes.
3 minute
This is 4
segment.
minutes.
This is a big one, NES, you can go up to 5. So we would give them those kind of things. And we saw, I watched almost all the raw material as it came in from everybody. So I kind of knew what people were talking about, and knowing the topics, we know what the big beats that we're going to get hit were going to be. So we see the assembly come back in, we'll ask them to trim, and then ultimately that ends up going to the Final Cut editor, who adds the real color to it. He adds the backdrops, he adds the B-roll. We had some B-roll and materials that were amassed for them to dip into, but then they would go and grab their own footage, do their own background CG, depending on how skilled they were, and add their own little information that they could. So everybody had it was very collaborative, but ultimately, yeah, we would give the final cut on what should be there, what shouldn't be.
And assembly editing is tough. I did, what did I do? I did Galaxian, I think?
Oh yeah, that's right, you guys did it.
Did I do 1 or 2 to help you out? Because John's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to do everything.
I'm gonna do it
myself.
all.
Like,
And I
John,
was
no,
like-
you're going to die.
My wife's like, no, this is over. This marriage is done. So, you can't edit everything.
Well, I did 1 or 2. It's interesting because you have, like, say, 10 different people. Some of them are saying the same stuff. Some of them are not saying the same stuff. So you have to sort of just create a story out of all this different raw footage coming in. So it's not easy. It's definitely not. Unless you give them sort of bullet points to hit upon as you did. And I think we did that. Did I do that a little bit?
Did it a little bit, but
This is what you should hit on.
There's so
NES, you got to mention the controller was revolutionary.
Yeah, if there were
stuff
big,
like that.
if there were big moments that we knew had to be hit, we would make sure that they were in there.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
A lot of wrangling though.
right now we're rambling.
Any other questions?
What was your guys' favorite part of doing the whole thing? Because to me, it seems like it was just a labor of love, and I've watched it a million times.
A million times.
Okay, that might be a little exaggerated, but it's definitely one of my favorite things to put on
Let's start with Eric.
when I'm
Yeah.
bored.
What was your favorite part, Eric?
Favorite part? Wow, that's hard. Like a year or just about the show altogether?
Just the whole experience, because I think it was absolutely awesome.
I just liked it when, since we're all doing our own individual thing, like I always want to, collaborate and do stuff, but we all kind of did our own individual thing and it would come together just kind of accidentally, beautifully. It's like, oh, that's great. Like he played off him and we weren't even in on it. That was my favorite thing. Just watching it like, oh, I said that and then he said something that just happened to fit. So that's what I liked. The end.
Oh yeah, I'll bounce off of that and say that I think one of my favorite accidental things that happened was when Pat and I sang Space Invaders together. We just happened to sing the opposite parts, so it edited together so perfectly. It was wonderful. And
I got to do that.
that was. I was cracking up when I saw that for the first time. I was like, "How perfect is that?" But I liked doing fun things like that just to see what would end up being edited. Like I think at one point I was wearing a Ninja Turtle bandana during some footage, and
The Rancor monster?
I did the Rancor monster. Yeah.
You had the Indiana Jones outfit.
I had an Indiana Jones outfit on one time,
I love
just
that
randomly. Yeah, I just liked doing things like that just to see what would make the cut, and that was fun for me.
Yeah, I think that was, at the time, it was, I don't know if there's been a show that's been done like this on YouTube since that was sort of that ambitious, getting all these personalities together.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's happened. I don't think it has.
And it was touching
probably a
upon it
reason why.
before, yeah.
I've seen shows try to do it where people were trying to do a green screen thing, and then maybe they get a few years, but Video Game Years was pretty ambitious.
Yeah, and that was like I said, but I didn't actually finish the point before, but it was an idea I had 2 years before we started, and the reason is that we didn't have a network of friends or collaborators on retroware that was big enough yet to really dip into this. And then we got to a point around 2011, 2012 that we were at like the height of retroware. We had, everybody was on there, and everybody knew somebody who, even if they weren't on retroware, like James or like Mike Matei or anybody else, we could all reach out and get them involved. And
Oh, that weekend was nuts.
that was yeah.
Was that January 2013 or
Yeah.
12?
There was
2013.
There was a MagFest
It
weekend.
was at MagFest.
And there was a
Definitely.
Classic Gaming Expo weekend where we did a whole bunch of interviews
So-
too.
January MagFest 2013 probably consisted of me just, and that was the same weekend we did the AVGN movie thing, right? It was all that, holy God, how am I alive? That's why I don't have any energy anymore. I wasted it. So what happened was,
that's right. We had the AVGN movie.
it's me running around, talking to Mike and James. You like the attention? I'm just like you. But one day, someone's gonna get you back for this. So anyway, it was me running away, running downstairs, going, hey, Mike Matei, come on up and do this filming real quick. Hey, James, do the filming real quick. Getting Eagle Raptor to do it before he was the mega superstar he was now. He was getting popular though.
Oh yeah, yeah. He came up to us. He's like, I like the video game years, 1977 and 78. And I'm like, okay.
You want to be on it?
Yeah, want to be on it?
And that was the last we ever heard from Entry Film. That aside. But it was me doing that and then getting everyone around. And then we did the same thing at Classic Game Fest later that year.
Yeah.
Keith Robinson and Tommy Tallarico.
And
Howard Phillips.
That was cool.
And Bob Mackey,
Yep.
I think that weekend. Is that the, am I missing
We
anyone?
had Mackey, we had Chris Kohler.
Chris Kohler.
Yep. And we did that all in one weekend.
All one weekend.
Yeah.
Like, so when you see Mike and James and Eagle Raptor and Pro Jared that weekend, that was all shot within 2 or 3 days at MagFest early 2013.
Yeah, we had a lot of amassed material that we dipped back into, which is great. I mean, we thought about it that way. We said, well, let's
do
everything
it.
to the 80s. Let's just get big
Or else we're
comics.
never getting these people separately because you got to record yourself, then you got to compress it and upload it. And we have problems with getting. Nowadays it might be easier, but back then,
Yeah.
2012, it's not like you can just upload gigabytes wherever you want quickly. You had to pay a service back then, and it was a ton of money.
Yeah, we had a GoDaddy service. We had like
It was awful.
a file locker. which-
Microsoft had one or something. It was awful. Trying to get the files back and forth. It was just I'm having nightmares.
Hours uploading, hours downloading. It was tough because
Not only that, because you and I were using tape still, like pallets.
Oh, yeah, so
like we would film the whole thing, and then we would have to play it back in real time,
So-
and then cut that, and then send. It was just a nightmare.
So there was a transference point where you had the first HD cameras where you're still on mini DV tapes, which meant that nowadays you can download your files in 2 seconds from your camera onto your hard drive. Back then, you had to play it back like traditional mini DV tapes. So me and Ian probably recorded. Me and Ian shot for every single topic on video game news every year, except for like 4
At most
throughout
of that.
14 episodes. So we usually shot for like an hour and a half to 2 hours. So after we shot, it was me hitting play on the tape, playing back, and then had to actually in real time put it back to the computer. Then I usually had to compress it because you can't send an hour and a half mini DV raw because that's like what 25 gigs, 30 gigs. So then I had to compress it, and that took forever on a computer 5 or 6 years
It's like an
old.
overnight process.
Then you had to upload it, and I'm like, this is awful.
And these were awful sites that like the uploads were not considered. It would fail. I just remember like going and grabbing footage and being like, why is this 4 kilobytes? And it's like, oh, this is nothing. It just didn't work.
You had to ask the editors, hey, I don't know where this raw footage is anymore, remember? Or re-upload it. Like you had to ask people to re-upload raw. People were like, oh, Dan's like, I deleted it, right? It's like,
That happened at least once or twice.
Yeah, it's
where
like,
you were
no,
like, Dan, where's your footage? Like, I uploaded that like weeks ago, guys.
Yeah, because that
Oh,
was
it's not
another
there.
problem. That's another problem we
Awesome.
had. There were episodes that were way behind schedule. There were materials like Dan saying, like, oh, hey Dan, do you have that footage from 1988 when you're talking about Ninja Gaiden or when you're talking about Super Mario Brothers 2? And he's like, dude, that was 2014. Like, what are you talking about?
a little behind editing, right? That was 4 years ago, John.
Yeah.
But the
I was just saying, I like how the question was, what do we enjoy about the show?
all right. This is what I enjoyed. Throughout all this painful process, all this behind-the-scenes junk, editors whining and complaining, trying to get like our freaking Facebook group. I had to lay the smackdown on a couple people. It was great. Get them in line a little bit. They have a taskmaster, but the show has to get done. But throughout all of that, when the episodes came out, whether we're at MagFest next year or a convention, we were like, John has an early edit of like 79 part 1 done. Let's watch it, and it was the best thing ever.
Yeah, no, that
It
was
was
my
fun.
favorite part for sure. I'll go back to Lance, but because I was the last one to touch these episodes and get them finally compiled and lay the final credits on them and then hit upload, it was that moment where it was uploaded and live, and then
everyone loved it.
comments started coming.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's 98% positive comments on this thing, and that just felt so good. And that was my favorite part of doing the show, is the 6 times per year, since we had to do 6 parts of such a long show, or 4 parts. It was that, oh, good. And the reception came in, and that's, and people enjoyed it and liked it. And they're like, oh, I know there are people out there that like the same stuff I like. And it was good.
I mean, just my favorite thing about it was, you know, John and I had started Retroware over 10 years now. And it was the first and probably mostly our only project where the whole site kind of collabed on. And, you know, it was very, it's a little emotional seeing that, you know. Not so much now. And now I'm just like, oh, screw these guys. But
I got kids now. My emotions caught up with other people.
I mean, your life changes.
That
But
guy
like,
right over there.
we can like look back and say, you know, it's because, you know, of Retroware and what we did that this show was even possible. And especially with Pat involved, I got to give Pat.
Oh yeah, no, this would not have moved forward without Pat, because he would offer that kind kick in the ass that you needed, and that's for sure a great positive, because you know I could lay back and just be like, I'm too damn tired to do this, but like, no, we have to do this, we have to get this done, and we would have a good cop, bad cop thing every once in a while, because I was way too nice to
It's
people.
like you'd hate to get that email because like, he's kind of right.
They would go all the
Pat's calling.
Really? Was I that bad?
No.
I'm very amicable, very affable.
I just hate the.
No, there was a good cop, bad cop thing between me and John, because John was a little soft on some of the editors. Let's just say John did a couple things after I found out where I was like, John, this editor hasn't turned anything for 6 months, but he was already paid.
Yeah.
So I was like, huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So John was definitely like the nice, like, go to mom, then go to dad. You know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's true. I can't really deny that.
But John's great, though. John had this vision to do it, and we're very proud of it, right? Proud of it. It was fun. This isn't the last thing I'm saying. We still have time. Next question.
Take another question.
More questions? Yes, sir. Filming it. Hi.
Hi, how's it going? This is a question kind of for each of you to answer. Which is your favorite decade of video games, generally speaking?
It's got to be the 80s, right? Rise of arcades, the crash.
For me, it's the 80s, and that's why I think we wanted to focus on it. I mean, that's when we were kids. I mean, that's when I started playing games with the Atari 5200 and ended with the TurboGrafx. You know, that was the decade.
For me, it's kind of hard because I would, you know, we started in the 80s, but like I constantly still play this stuff from the 90s.
Me too.
More so than the 80s, more so than the NES and the Commodore 64 and Coleco that, you know, I grew up on, which my dad bought me back there. He's actually not paying attention, he's reading it. So thank you for buying me that. But yeah, I'd definitely say the 90s for me.
Well, I'm going to do the nostalgic answer too, and also say the 80s, just because I feel like I have a lot more tied to that, thinking back to my childhood, because it started for me with a Commodore 64. My dad got a Commodore 64 and then even ended up putting it in my bedroom after he got his Amiga later on. And so I rocked out tons of games on my Commodore 64, and then I eventually got the Nintendo, and so like all of that stuff is like, that's gaming to me. That's my favorite.
80s, yeah. Nintendo. That's when I started playing games. That's when I had time to play games.
Yeah.
So just nothing but games. Yeah, it's all Nintendo.
I think the arcade scene is something that I'm happy I was around to at least see some of
Yes.
it. I mean, obviously I wasn't around to see the rise of it in the early 80s, but it was still strong in the mid to late 80s, and I'm like, this is, unless you were there, you can't explain the experience. Like, yeah, barcades, you kind of get it, it's like, but that will never be replicated ever again, like ever. The feeling of, like, those were the new games. You had to go to a location and pay quarters to play the newest, best games.
Yeah, and they were just remarkably better than what you had at home. That's not the case anymore. So you go, you know, it's just.
But sometimes those are games that's the only time you can play it was going in the arcade. So that'll never happen again. And for you youngsters out there, I don't know, you gotta watch watch old video footage of arcades. I mean,
I know. Well,
There was something super special,
I could
right?
share them with you. I have a lot of old footage of arcades sitting on a hard drive somewhere, thanks to the show.
next question. You in the red shirt.
First, I just want to say, Jan, you'd be surprised how much it comes up in conversation. The Kenner Early Bird package with Star Wars toys.
Yeah?
So don't hate on the toy segment there.
That's what I'm talking about.
I do like the voice segment.
Own the vertical.
For each of you, though, what is there anything that you wanted to talk about in any of the episodes didn't, you wish you had?
Oh yeah, we skipped
Yeah.
one game that I was mad that we missed on. We
Xevious or something? I can't
go
remember.
for it. You remember?
No, I don't.
We somehow missed Pirates, and I was like kicking myself.
Oh, Sid Meier?
87 or 88.
Sid Meier Pirates.
It's just, I was like, I figured, I was like, wait, I was like, what year did Pirates come out? And we already had 80. I was like, oh crap, how I missed out on Pirates.
Yeah.
So we'll insert it in. We'll do a bonus. We'll insert that segment in.
Yeah.
We'll
What,
do
what,
the-
what were we gonna call it?
We're gonna call it Extra Life, like
Extra Life,
Video game
yeah.
years 1980s, like Extra Life, or like go back and go over. But we can't because we did 40 games in '89. So
I know,
we
it's
ruined
like,
the idea.
because we talked about just doing the 80s again, because we could just add more topics, but yeah, maybe not. Maybe the 90s.
What about you guys? Any things you missed out on that you would love to have seen?
I don't know if I seem to remember there being not as much as I wanted there to be for the Commodore 64.
Right, yeah. I didn't film that one.
And I remember even bringing that up to you guys after I saw the final episode, and I was like, why did we skip past the Commodore 64 so quickly? Like, I felt like there needed to be more to it.
That was the first time we actually changed parts
Didn't we
of the set.
reshoot stuff?
We re-edited and added and then re-uploaded it.
You know, because I remember when I saw it, because I don't know why I didn't film it.
It's the only segment we ever did that for.
Scheduling thing, but when it was first released, it really came over like we did not like that system.
Yeah, it seemed really kind of anti-Commodore 64
Which
whole
is like,
segment.
why did I miss this one?
Yeah, and I was just like, what? And then I was really second guessing myself because I was like, well, this was like super important to me, but maybe this is how the rest of the world feels. You know what I
Well,
mean?
the problem was is that like I didn't grow up on it, so I didn't have that much to say about it.
Yeah, and I didn't either, so I didn't have much to say on it. And
Clint stopped filming that year.
yeah, they were like, where's Clint? I'm like, well, Clint
Clint did like what 80, 81, 82. Then he didn't do 83.
Yeah, he did standalones too for a little while, but then he stopped. Yeah.
So it's like, who do we have on here that could speak to it better? And we didn't really have anyone. I didn't have a Commodore as a kid. I had IBM XT. So that's where.
Yeah, that was the thing. It was
That's the
huge
whole
in
thing.
Europe.
That's
And
always
he
the-
talked about that.
That was always the thing. It's like people are like, you're not focusing on the ZX Spectrum. It's like no one had that in the U.S. You couldn't buy one. You know, it's like, so we're not going to talk about that.
We've always said it pretty clearly that this is a history of gaming in America.
We did one segment, I think, 83 about the rise of Japanese consoles.
Yes, because it was so
It was MSX, it was
Yeah.
Famicom, and it was SG-1000.
SG-1000.
So that was like, okay, we'll talk about that, but you have to keep with a certain scope and limit, and I'm not going to talk about the Amstrad, whatever it is. I don't know nothing about it.
I think one of the reasons we did the Famicom, MSX, and Sega segment was just so we could squeeze some NES games into the episode.
We wanted to get to it.
We wanted to get
Plus,
so
83
many.
was pretty better, besides
Yeah.
the video game crash. You had to do that.
But you, Eric. No, you're good, okay.
You, sir.
I think arcades have much better sound chips than the Commodore or the MSX. Well, the MSX might rival arcades, but for the most part, they sound pretty good.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
I mean, the problem
the
with
Commodore had that really good sound card.
Right. I mean, the thing with arcades, and, you know, with the Commodore, you're talking, you know, something that's made for more. What am I trying to say here? The Commodore is more of a consumer-friendly thing, so you're not going to see like the amount of money put into a sound chip as you would like an arcade machine. The hardware in there is so much more powerful than something like the Commodore. That's one of the reasons.
The SID chip is revered.
It is.
That's not necessarily true.
Do you want to shoot? You want to reshoot the segment with us?
But
Let's get him on camera, John.
What I'm saying is, you know, you're talking
we
about
might
a
need to redo.
consumer-made product versus something that developers are able to put more money into to release an hardware.
No, I agree.
But and I love. Don't get me wrong. I love that system. I mean, Commando on the Commodore 64.
Oh yeah, it's so much better than the XT was.
The music on that
Oh,
is better
yeah.
than the arcade. Better, you know, but it's different. It's not as powerful.
But I would say the sound chips in the Commodore Amiga, the SID 64 were light years ahead of their time, and in many respects better than arcade equivalents, especially at the time.
Especially Amiga.
Yeah.
So this is why we're not qualified to talk about Commodore 64. Case in point, we had to get more people for that.
Pat and I were
There's still
drooling over
people who make
Simon's
music on
Quest.
that thing. So.
For me to ask my dad to film with us.
Yeah.
Hey, Pixel Dad, you want to come talk about
Wouldn't
Commodore
it
and
be
Amiga
good
stuff?
to do a video game years, you know, the UK edition, and then just talk about the ZX Spectrum.
Franchise it out?
Yeah, exactly. Well, franchise it, yeah. It'll be like American Idol. It'll be British video game years.
Oh, what was the other one? The Dragon computer? What the hell was it?
Another point for the Commodore 64 was it was the launch platform for all of LucasArts adventures.
Oh.
Yes, that's true.
Probably another topic we
know
did
nothing
not hit.
about Commodore 64.
Yeah, I think I feel bad now. I think we should redo the Commodore 64.
Don't blame me. No one filmed for it.
And a question, I do have an actual question.
Okay.
Related to the one about cut segments. What did you end up cutting that was turned out to be not relevant enough, but it was really funny, or it was offensive and good?
Eric's outtakes.
There was just one. There was only one segment we never put in an episode. That was the sex games on the Atari 2600.
Did we film that?
We filmed it.
Yeah.
We have a complete segment. We released it. Didn't we put it on? Did we put it on the DVD as a standalone section?
Have I seen that set? Oh, I did.
You had to have seen it, but it was
It was just too
Custer's
bad.
Last Stand or Custer's
Beat 'em and eat 'em.
Revenge and Beat 'em and Eat 'em, and we were like, no,
This is just
we
too
just
much.
can't put this on.
This is too much.
It's
What was that, 82 or 83?
Yeah,
80.
I'll take a look at the DVDs when we get back to the booth.
Hey, we're trying to sell the DVD. There you go. And you can hear the insane commentaries from me and Ian.
But what's funny about
They are
those is
good. I love those commentaries.
we did a full length, Pat did a full length,
With Joey
and,
and
it's just overkill. So, and then on the third one, we're just like, okay.
We didn't do it. But me and Ian had a running joke on the second volume about cannibalism somehow on the commentary track. We were out of our minds. It was just nuts.
Yeah, didn't you do, you, Eric, and Dan did commentaries, right? Yeah, you did the Videocade commentary
Right.
on that. You and I did a commentary. So you had to do 2 commentaries for every episode.
We're doing something. It's been so long, I don't remember.
That's the reason to get the DVDs. Otherwise, please stream everything on.
Do we have is there a panel at 6? Or we?
There is.
We got a couple more minutes. So there we go. Yes, young lad.
Okay, so went so long now, I forgot. Okay, so
Oh.
out of all the episodes that you ever made, what was your favorite one?
Out of all the episodes from 77 to 89, do you have a favorite?
Just every episode there is.
Me is 87. 87 was a good year. And those
Like, what about it?
Now I feel
What
real
about it?
No, you're not old.
Oh, I
State of
am.
mind. No, old.
I think 87 was strong because you still had some arcade games, but you had the NES going strong there.
Yeah, the NES was getting
Coming
into
into its
like
own.
full.
What do you like about doing the episodes themselves that made it your favorite?
I feel like we've answered that question.
Yeah, it's the topics. I just love those topics. It was fun talking about it.
Yeah.
Let's just say I didn't have to open up Wikipedia on my cell phone before talking as much in the 1987.
Well, that's why Ian and I were always, if you notice a lot of the ones with me and Ian, there's sometimes where Ian's dominating or I'm dominating, because it actually worked out where if he didn't know about something, I did and vice versa, so it usually worked out. And then we can just rip on stuff and, like, we didn't plan. All the jokey crap we did was all on the spot, where it was just spontaneous, and that's why I like the chemistry Ian and I have. But we actually really enjoyed filming. Like getting all the Pac-Man stuff, and we're all sitting
That
there
was
with tons
funny.
of camera stuff. You know, just good stuff like that.
I remember just by watching your stuff, like PC, that was Ian. Ian was like,
Good question.
That's a great question. That's because I've talked to them just in case, and we'll frickin' pay people. You'll get paid if you. I'll get paid for. That's what I'm talking about. Lance and John.
Yeah, maybe not just doughy, pasty white guys is what I'm thinking. We need maybe more women.
Well, we know more people now.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
So slightly more diverse. You know, because we know more people. But people
This is a
like.
joke. I mean, we didn't choose just white guys. It was just
No. Someone complains like, I can't believe that there's
It's so
games of all
racist.
colors. No, and I'm like, yeah, I agree. We just didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone in 2012.
you know, and it's kind of like a double standard, because you put like a woman, Allie, for example.
8-bit Allie.
And then we got crap for it.
Did we really?
They're like, oh, they just put a woman in.
So
What are you
rude to
talking
her.
about?
Like, what do you have?
Allie's funny. She's smart. She knows about games. But I'd love to get James and Mike back. I'll get Gerard Khalil, completionist. Want to see him?
Andre
Meadows, Black Nerd Comedy. He would do it. He's like, was that
Pro Jared.
Pro Jared? If he wants to come back, sure.
He said he would. Yeah. And
Did he say he would?
He said Brent did too. Brental Floss.
Yeah.
Bring him back.
They're
Maybe
semi-pasty
more.
white guys, but we can get them back in there. But we know more people now.
How about Rinri? Any chance of getting her back?
Is she retired, Rinri?
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah,
for a while.
yeah.
I think she's retired. I think she's
She's a
gone.
mom now, so.
I mean, we know some of the guys from Retronauts, so I would like to get some of those journalists. I'd like to get Jeremy Parrish on. I'd like to get Shane
Kohler back?
Bettenhouse, and I'd like to get Kohler back.
Maybe get like
Chris Kohler's parents showed up at a tag sale at my
Steve
house one
Lynn?
day and bought all my old video game stuff, and I was like, oh wow, you're buying all this stuff? Yeah, my son, he's into video game. He talks about video games and he writes about games. I'm like, and I knew Kohler was from our area. I'm like, are you Chris Kohler's parents? And they're like, yeah. So I tweeted Kohler. I'm like, your parents just bought all my old gaming crap. Good luck, because it was like awful stuff. But
Chris is fun.
Cool, stuff. I would like to get, Josh, who's in the back here, he worked for Midway. He's doing a great documentary, Insert Coin, check it out.
You worked at Midway?
Yeah, he worked for Midway.
Hey, you can talk about at least Midway stuff. You're probably qualified.
oh yeah, especially for the 90s.
So
Yeah.
he's our end to the Midway crew. So.
All right, well there you go. We'll try to. We have some contacts in the industry still here and there. If the show comes back.
If the show comes back.
If it comes back, NBA Jam will be on there, right, Lance?
Yes.
Oh, we got challenged by someone. Remember
did.
how we kicked Stuttering Craig's ass 5 years ago?
Yeah.
On Memphis 6 years ago? He's still pissed about that. I love it.
Anyway, we should probably wrap
Wanna
up.
wrap
I know
up?
someone else to get ready.
So,
What happened to the badges? How come these cheap bracelets this year?
whoa.
Well,
Whoa! That's not a video game here's question.
Shots fired.
I'm going to answer that because, so this place.
I got a
is like-
badge.
This place is like twice as expensive as last year, so we got to cut costs somewhere, and it makes sense to do those this year.
Let's end on a video game year's question. That was awkward. One last video game year's question from someone, please. Yes, sir.
What can we do to help get it back?
What can you do to help get the video games back? Okay. Watch on Amazon Prime, spread the word in love, and then if there's a Kickstarter, please show your love and support.
Yes, spread
Smash
the word.
that like button.
Share.
Smash that like button. And help us fund it again when it comes back. Thanks, guys, so much
Thanks
for coming
so much,
back.
guys.
Video game years.